Get into some very interesting stuff, but it's weird. LL Nation, what's good?
What's good?
Happy Hump Day. Great show coming. We're talking about Notre Dame. The reality of how close Notre Dame is to being legit national title contenders. We want to talk about that today. We're brought to you by Onora Whisky. OnoraWhiskey.com. It's that premium American whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. And if you drink, by all means, make sure that you drink
Response.
responsibly. Bro, I kind of put my foot in my mouth,
Mm.
but I kind of spoke up for myself. Maybe
Okay.
you and LL Nation can help me out. Had a conversation going on with some family, and they asked me how my wife was doing. Said she's doing really well, dude. Getting her grind on, running her business, school at the same time. She's doing her thing. Proud of her. So at the end of my comments, I say, yo, she's the best mother ever, dude. She's the GOAT. She's
That's
the
right.
GOAT of all mothers.
That's right.
And I forgot my mom was like around. So all of a sudden I hear my mom like, what? And so my dad's like, uh-oh. And she was like, she's the GOAT of all mothers. I said, yeah. She said, but she's not your mother. I said, yeah, but she's the mother of my seed.
Yes.
So the question today, help me out, right? Please
Scary.
confirm some things for me. Because I think, you know, my mom was the GOAT until my wife had my seed. And I watched her raise my seed. And from that point, there was a transfer of GOAT status, at least the way I feel. That's the way I feel.
It was a graduation of GOAT status.
Yeah, it's like, yo, you raised me. That makes you super dope. But
That's right.
man, she's GOAT status.
I have to give a GOAT award myself, right? Because your dad gave your mom the GOAT status.
Absolutely. He absolutely did. And still does.
So you can't get a double GOAT.
No, no.
Yeah,
That's what
you
she was. And you know, what's a good point? She wants to, because there's five of us total. So
okay.
she wants five GOAT statuses.
Oh man, that's you.
You know what I mean?
I mean, we're not saying don't deserve it, but that you got enough to give one or two away. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good point. Because my dad, by all means, did bestow upon her GOAT
Five.
status as a mom, and I
Yeah,
have the same right
yeah.
to
You
bestow
have to
upon my wife.
because it comes from the guy. That's how you get
Facts.
the GOAT status. You can't claim
Facts.
the GOAT status.
Facts.
Just like how you have to be knighted by the queen. You can't knight yourself and then be like, well, you got knight me too. No. The queen has to knight you. Then you certified. And then once you certified, then go about your day.
Yeah. She wants to keep getting like Grammys for
Yeah.
motherhood. You know what I'm saying? Like
That's why they
from
say
her husbands.
they had the conversation of the old and dusty founders of hip hop. But
Oh,
everybody
you
has
talking about what act?
yeah,
And DJ
everybody has
Academics?
a timeline. Yeah, everybody has a timeline. You can't be hot forever because it wouldn't be hot. It'd be room temperature.
It's all about what you do with your opportunity.
That's right.
It's all about what you do with your opportunity, right? And fame does not necessarily equal success. Because fame could be fleeting.
Okay. Yeah.
Fame could be fleeting. You can be popping for you can be a one-hit wonder. You can pop for a season. But if you take advantage of that season, you can have a lifetime of success and not be in the spotlight.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So we talk about this all the time. And the reason we started off with this is because we're going to kind of like move into talking about true title contention. There's one position we have to always talk about, and there's one program we always look at, and that is Clemson. We're going to talk about that. Sports Illustrated's Brian Smith, who is a big time scout down in Florida. He's going to join us at the top of the hour. We're going to dig deep. We got some man. If you have any questions about recruiting, Notre Dame recruiting, hit us up in the chat because we're digging deep based upon the viral video he put out last week talking about Notre Dame and the opportunity they have to be a really good program and win a national championship. The reason I said that, I thought about that conversation this weekend and choosing and my point of view. And it made me think about we're both fathers. And our job is to basically set the platform for our children to go further than we went. Like, it's almost sad. Like, there's plenty of life in front of both of us, but like, our life has transitioned from what's best for us to now what's best for them.
That's right.
Right? The transition that needs to happen with Notre Dame is tied into the quarterback. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking about that for the last 6-7 months. And we talk about, can we get our Deshaun Watson? Can we get our Trevor Lawrence? I don't even know if we have our Taj Boyd yet, bro.
Yeah.
It really made me think about this.
Yeah.
Like, we're asking for our Deshaun and our Trevor. Do we even have the dude that lays the foundation?
Right.
Have we gotten him?
The guy that we felt like we were close with, but we knew that it was enough to recruit a guy that want to level up that position.
Yeah.
Who's the guy that wants to level up from Jack Cohn? That's the launching point. Jack Cohn got us at room temperature. Now we got to turn up the heat with a guy that can see what Jack Cohn did in a 1 year and be like, oh, I can go there and get 3 years and take it to the next level. You saw that with Taj Boyd. You saw that with Trevor Lawrence. You saw that with what DJ is trying to do. Guys that get inspired by guys that go there and level the position up. I mean, it got really to a point. I mean, you can't get too much better than Trevor Lawrence. I mean, Clemson kind of hit the max almost, if you could say.
But this is the crazy thing. Could Cade Klubnik be better than both of them? That's the crazy thing, right? I mean, those are building pieces, right? Like, each quarterback sets another level for the next one to come and take the program higher.
See,
It
but
might not be DJ, but it could be Cade.
But the thing is, when you max out the ceiling of that quarterback position, you're going to go through ebbs and flows. DJ and maybe Cade is another ebb and flow to it, because if you look at Alabama, they've always stayed pretty consistent, not to where they're getting a number one pick quarterback, pretty damn good quarterbacks, good enough to not have, if they have a lull in the quarterback, like say after Bryce Young, it's not going to affect the team as how it did Clemson. Clemson's year with DJ was a lull by their standards, considering, I mean, you're coming off of Trevor Lawrence, who was 33-2, just like our offensive line. Our offensive line with Ronnie Stanley, Quentin Nelson, Mike McGlinchey, Nick Martin, Zach Martin. You got Steve Elmer. It was at such a high peak that when it became average amongst everybody else, people were in shock. People were in panic mode. Like, oh my God, what has happened to the offensive line? Nothing. Nothing. But like Notre Dame, we haven't had that elevation to where, even when Deshaun was there, I thought Deshaun was not the second year, but the first year he was playing at a high level to where Brandon came in and was doing good things. But we need to have something to where a guy can come in inspire the recruiting class, but
Mhm.
also set the foundation like Taj. I thought Dante would be a perfect Taj type of piece to spur the next superstar that we have down the pipe. But I think CJ Carr is going to be a great option for us. Is he a Trevor Lawrence type? I don't know. I think he's more Matt Ryan-ish than Trevor Lawrence, but you know, is that going to beat Alabama? I think he's got some ability, but what we know now is that you got to be dynamic at that position. Even Stetson Bennett or whatever his name is, I mean, he's even looking dynamic behind an amazing team.
Well, he looks better as like he's gotten better as a quarterback
Right.
since last year. Of course,
Hmm.
he has immense talent around him, right? The tight
Oh,
end
yeah.
room is bananas, offensive line, running backs. Dude, they've been playing without two of their top three wide receivers over the
Yeah.
last two games. And they come back this week. So he's definitely playing with a loaded cast. Lucky Lefty podcast right here. Question of the day. When will Notre Dame, if things go right in the Marcus Freeman era, when will Notre Dame be a legitimate title contender? That's our question of the day for everybody in the chat. I see my boy Donnie Cruz is tapping in with us. Hey, Donnie, your mayor is buck wild, bro. Running around talking about Kansas like that. We'll get to him. He's definitely on a petty train. Your boy, Eric Adams, he's out of control, man. We'll get to him in a second. When would Notre Dame be a true title contender? And just talking about the development, we understand that the quarterback is needed. But just in even having that conversation about my mom who laid the foundation for me to understand, you know, the things that a mother is supposed to do, right? And then I watch my wife do what she does with what is mine. See, that's the
Right.
difference for me. Like that's mine. Like I ain't. She took care of mine. That elevates. Like yo, yes, you had me. You laid the foundation, and then she took what was mine. And in my eyes, like that's nothing more precious than that as a dad. And she understood where I was coming from eventually. So, we laughed about it. But it just made me think about, who is passing the baton, who's setting the foundation in that quarterback room. And if it's CJ Carr, like, yo, we have to wait until 24 for the foundation to be set. I'm not a fan of him reclassifying me personally. Like I want him to go and physically enjoy himself, get stronger, come in at the right time, and then make a splash.
Yeah,
Hopefully, yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
I just don't think that. I think it's kind of a little lazy to ask him to requalify due to there's still good quarterbacks. Kenny Minchie, there's still good quarterbacks in the 23 class. Plus, you don't want to lose a year on getting a guy that can push the room or make the room better. Right now, our room is bottom 25 in the country. So at least you want the room to be stout enough for the fact of Tyler Buckner getting hurt, or you want the room to push the competition level for the season. There's many reasons why you don't want to skip out on a year of getting a quarterback, regardless if you have a plan for a guy a year after. Ohio State, they didn't skip out on the guy. They're still recruiting a guy for the 23 class, even though the guy in 24 class they really want to carry the torch.
yeah. Facts. We thank Scott Yerbick for tapping in with us as always. 2024, huge steps. 2025 gets it done. So Scott thinks 2025 is the year Notre Dame becomes a legitimate title contender. Logan Lawrence chiming in. We need a transfer with a year or two of eligibility that can bridge us to Carr if we can't land Minchie. Names that are out now with Hank Bachmeyer, who's going to be transferring from Boise State. Jeff Sims of Georgia Tech is going to be an option. I'm assuming with everything that's going on at Georgia Tech, I'm assuming that he's going to go ahead and put his name in the transfer portal at some point. Either one of those guys kind of get you excited as an option?
Jeff Sims, just because it would add something different to the room, I think would make it interesting. I think if we had a track record of developing guys, I think he would fit great in the offense, like Notre Dame, because he can do things like Drew Pine from the pocket, throw it better, in my opinion. Guy's got a good instinct for the game, but then he can add that extra layer of what we asked what we designed Tyler Buckner to do from the run game. He could do on instinct and make some plays outside the pocket as well. I think it'd be a great fit. I know people wouldn't assume so, but I do think he would be a more polished Brandon Winbush uh, for what Notre Dame could offer, especially what Tommy can draw up. I know with the right offensive coordinator and the talent at quarterback like Chris Sims, it would be really nice.
You know what? Jeff Sims is very intriguing. Who did they play first? They played Clemson first, an opening night, and I thought he competed really well against that Clemson defense.
Yeah,
And
I thought he did great. Yeah, they just looked like they didn't have enough.
yeah. If you put him around, if you put talent around him, he probably looks a lot better.
Because he can throw it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he can.
he can
Yeah,
push it
they
down.
the downfield game would definitely be
He
an option.
chances, and he's
Yes.
accurate downfield.
Yeah.
Got experience. He's not like a fish out of water out there just running around.
Yeah.
You can see he's got some natural ability throwing the football. He stands in the pocket. It just is like the offensive line wasn't great. His receivers didn't they were dropping some here and there, but you could tell like in a different environment, he could be somebody that could threat. I feel like he could with the right people around him, which I think we have, he
Yeah.
could pose a threat to Alabama. We'll give Alabama at least a run for their money, at least.
Yeah. Absolutely. Joe Easton, we thank you for tapping in, my man. Sims would be sexy next year and wouldn't have to trade that navy and gold. That's
That's right.
true. We already know he looks good in those colors. So
I mean, he would be what Drew and Tyler are in one, at least. I
yeah,
think he would push Tyler to be better. Maybe even if Tyler doesn't stay healthy, I mean both of them in there wouldn't be bad.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Lucky Lefty podcast. So we transition a little bit and thank everybody. We'll get to some of your questions and comments in a few seconds. Once again, minutes away from Brian Smith, FB Scout _ Florida on Twitter. Go follow him for Sports Illustrated. Put out a great video talking about what we're talking about today. How close is Notre Dame to being a true title contender? We'll have him on in a few minutes. The vision that Marcus Freeman has, tough in the trenches, dominating offensive line, defensive line, run the ball, stop the ball. Same thing that Nick Saban built the Alabama program on. Unfortunately, that was like a decade ago, over a decade ago. In 2022, is that vision still applicable for Notre Dame to win a national championship?
Potentially, potentially. I think for us to win the national championship, it's got to come from that quarterback position at this day and time. That's what Alabama's riding on. It looks like Georgia's going to ride on Stetson when it comes down to it. They got him as the Heisman guy. This, that, and third. Trying to make him of equal or comparative value to a Bryce Young, which we know that there is no comparison. But I think they're trying to media wise scheme it up for the championship game. Who's the better pick going into the draft? Which we know what should happen. So I think that for us, it definitely requires to get that next level quarterback. The guy from Arkansas with no stars that we haven't heard of. We need to do better than that. We need to do better than that.
Like you really had a problem with the fact that he was even up for evaluation.
Yeah, it's like, why are we trying to aha guys at the quarterback position? Aha, you didn't think of this guy, or aha, we found him out of nowhere. Like, let's get a commercial guy. Let's get a guy with an NIL deal in 8th grade. Let's take a chance on one of them, projected round picks before he plays college football. Why not? Let's at least attempt to be in that pool of play, because we know that we're in a league of our own when it comes to finding guys in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I agree with that. It should be interesting. I don't have a problem with the Jeff Sims thing. I definitely understand why he would be attractive just from an upside standpoint, and possibly putting him around a much more talented wide receiver group for Notre Dame next season and adding him to that mix, challenging whomever stays around. Is it Drew Pine that stays around and Tyler Buckner decides to leave the program, or Tyler Buckner stays around and Drew Pine gets tired of waiting and wants to go and play somewhere else? We'll see, but you definitely need someone that's going to be able to come in and present a challenge in that quarterback room. Lucky Lefty Podcast. We are pleased to welcome on right now SI's own Brian Smith as he joins us on the Lucky Lefty Podcast. Brian, how you doing today?
Doing good, Shaun. How about yourself, bud?
Wonderful. You and your family, everybody down there safe?
Well, I'm in Indiana right now.
Oh, there you go.
Well, you're safe.
I got a text from somebody and they said, you need to check the forecast. I'd been out in Tampa. I live right in the middle of Tampa.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So I go to my computer. Long story short, 45 minutes later, I was in my car.
That's good. Well, we're glad you're safe in the Midwest.
And you're gonna play with it. Yeah.
Look. Sometimes it is what it is. Mother Nature is undefeated all time.
Absolutely,
He's never lost.
Yeah. So
thoughts
and prayers.
What made the difference though between this one and most hurricanes that most Floridians are like, oh, that's nothing. We'll just stay.
Two things with that. It's goofy, like how they go. They can't predict them, and I'm not picking on anybody. But for whatever reason, for the last 100 years, Tampa never gets a direct shot. Ever. Mm-hmm. It always goes around. The people in Tampa, St. Pete, laugh about it. And I've lived there 6 years, but this one was kind of close. And I'm like, we just got to monitor, make sure it doesn't take a right turn. Well, it made a right turn. And that's it, bro. You're not going to win. And I live on the river. That storm surge and all that, it's not going to be pretty when I return back to the city of Tampa. It just is what it is. So,
got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw some pictures from the bay and the water was being sucked out of the bay.
And then it was dropped. It's not rain. It's a dump. Like you can't even see. It's hard to explain. It's like a vacuum cleaner. And then it just goes all at once. That does not end well. So the devastation will not be something you can put into words. So.
Well, we brought you on because you put out a video last week that is very much prevalent to what we're discussing today, and asking everyone that's watching. The question of the day was, when would Notre Dame become a legitimate title contender? When will they become a legitimate title contender? And you did a great job in your 18-minute video, really diagramming from a recruiting standpoint what has been, what has changed, what exists presently, the way Notre Dame is seen, and what needs to happen moving forward. But I will be doing our fans a disservice because they've been bugging us about this for the past month, with you being in Tampa and being so close to the situation. Mike, I'll ask the question like this. How close is Notre Dame to landing a Keon Keeley?
Keon, I know Keon pretty well. That situation's bizarre, and I'm not going to get into it too much. But I mean, a lot of kids, especially, Keon's a national top 50 kid. Conservatively, most people think he's top 10, top 15. Mm-hmm. A lot of that is just relationship. Mm-hmm. I cover UCF, and I'm pretty good contact with their staff. And Travis Williams is their DC, and he's as good a recruiter as there is in the country. And somebody asked him at one of our press conferences, "What do you guys sell?" He says, "Oh, that's easy. You sell yourself in relationships. That'll win every time." And he's right. And Marcus and many of the people on the Notre Dame staff do the same thing. It helps to have the Notre Dame degree and all that. But this is a long story I'm going to put into 20 seconds. Florida kids are different than any other state in the country.
Oh, yeah,
Even if you live, I mean, you know that because you went to Florida, but it is different. They look at things much, much more individually.
yes.
And for the most part, kids in Florida do not fit Notre Dame. Notre Dame knows that. The problem is winning, like you're talking about, can they contend for a title? What's the odds of winning a title without Florida talent, at least in some way, a part of your roster? It's pretty low. It is a juggling act because the kids in Florida, Keon's not as much as some of the others. It's a me first. How do I get to the league? The degree means very little.
Yeah.
So Notre Dame doesn't have as much power in that sense. The ones that it does, it's a lot. There's just no middle ground. It's hard to explain.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
yeah, I mean, you were in Gainesville. You get it. When you first got there and met some of these guys, I'm sure you're like, this is not like South Bend. I know that took place in your mind.
Yeah, it was just like you said, everybody is so different individually, case to case, and there's so many different things behind each recruitment. Like, it's not like, oh, I came on junior day and I fell in love and committed the day after. It was like,
no.
Somehow on recruitment day, I signed to a school, but end up enrolling in a different school at the last minute, and then I transferred the year after. Like, it's the craziest stuff.
No. Florida cheats. Georgia's dirty as hell, etc.
Yeah,
all that's true. That hurts Notre Dame too, but that is just the side point. The culture in Florida, and I talk to coaches around the state, from Miami to Pensacola. We don't know, as people that cover it, as people that coach it, administrators, we don't know where it is harvested from, but it is an epidemic. And the further south you go, the more it's that
worse. It's the worst.
And
I don't know how they recruit kids. Honestly, I just think that it almost feels like they just draw out of a hat at the end of the day. Like, oh, okay, I'll do this.
The NIL stuff, and that's a whole nother podcast, influences some, but the kids want to know, is school A getting me to the NFL? It is a checkbox, straight up. And then you get into the other stuff because some, like, I don't like Georgia, but to say Kirby Smart can't coach is just ridiculous. He's tremendous, so I get it. So if academics aren't a big deal to you, and Georgia's a good school anyway, okay, you go there or whatever. But it's just my position coach and this and that. And then I had a kid the other day who was talking about LSU puts all these kids in the league at corner. Well, that coach has changed. What the hell does that have to do with anything? And I would say the same thing if Marcus left. Well, they're really good at linebacker or edge or whatever, something that Marcus, he's not there. What difference does it make? Kids don't have a very broad view. They just don't. If a lot of people that were Notre Dame fans really understood, even half understood what goes on, especially like down here or Houston or Atlanta with a kid where it's really highly competitive, they would vomit in their mouth. Because
it's not about the school at all. It's not like, I love the tradition of Notre Dame. No.
It's not even like, most of the kids go to the SEC. They don't give a crap about UT or Alabama. They could give zero. It has nothing to do with it. So
Wyoming would have the most Florida kids if they had the coaches that would get them to the league.
That's it. That Lefty's got it right, man. It's
that's why you find them everywhere. That's why a Florida kid is on every team in the country. Because some coach told them, I can get you to the league.
One objective. It's dumber than hell. But you can't tell them otherwise.
Can't tell. Oh no, can't tell.
You want to see an argument start on the sideline, a 7-on-7 field? Tell some kid on that team, let his coach here, you can't get to the NFL. Oh, 7-on-7 in Florida.
Insane.
Yeah, it's not good. But anyway, to your point, they can get Keon Keeley's and stuff. And to his point, it's individualized. There is no one path.
Yeah.
CJ, let's use CJ. You mentioned him a minute ago. I was watching the podcast. When they first started recruiting him, I told Driscoll, he's a good player and all this, but I don't really care. His freaking grandfather coached at Michigan. I didn't pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even pay attention to it. I saw him at a tournament somewhere that his 7-on team went, and he was pretty good and all that. Didn't care. I saw him in Ohio this spring at Under Armour. I went to it, and he was really good and all that. Still didn't care. I needed to see him commit before I gave two craps, because there's just certain situations that don't match. But he broke the trend, and hats off to him. He admitted, I just wanted to be different. Good for CJ. I don't know the kid, but he's a hell of a player. That's the exception, not the rule. And in Florida, that doesn't fit at all, because just like he said, look, every single kid's recruitment is different. Yeah. I know these kids, they off the record conversations I have about getting money, NIL, and the NFL. Those are the only three conversations that are consistent. That is it.
And you're going to lose them if you talk about anything else, though, honestly. Like, it's like.
They do want to have, like, you know, you want to be comfortable around the people, you know, coaching.
Yeah.
That's cool. But even to that degree, the number of kids that I've had conversations with that don't like the old crusty white guy like Saban, but they respect him, is the one cap. Look, he gets guys in the NFL.
Right.
Do any of these kids have anything in common with Saban? Zero. He's 70-year-old white guy that doesn't care what you think about anything else. He's just trying to win. That's it. They don't care about him, but he knows how to get them there, and they understand. So that's cool. That's cool.
So, and the conversation we're having is so amazing, because this just popped in my mind. It seems like Marcus Freeman and his staff came in and they said, you know what? We're going to sit at the big boy table. Mm-hmm. We might not win. We might not have as many chips as Kirby, Nick, Dabo, but we're going to sit down at the big boy table and we're going to play this game of poker. And if we lose a Dante Moore this first go around, if we lose a Keon Keeley this first go around, like, I might have to bluff a little bit more than everybody else. But eventually, if I play my game, just like the movie Rounders, when Matt Damon went up in there and he played his game all night and eventually played the long game, ended up winning. You know, is that how Notre Dame is kind of approaching this under Marcus Freeman, that eventually we're going to start getting some of these guys, but we have to be in it in order to do so?
Well, I think that they already are. And I mean, you guys are around Marcus. I've never met him or spoken to him, communicated with him at all, but he recruits elite kids. And he, like when Charlie Weiss first came in, he had a list and he just went down it. In a certain situation, it's more long played out, because when Charlie got there, is right, you know, there was no time. But yeah, I give him credit. He just literally went down a list and just all day.
Yeah,
he was a grinder. Marcus is the same principle. I'm going to go after the best. We're going to take the best players we have and make the best team we have. Repeat. I just wish that other coaches that had been at Notre Dame prior, not just the guy that's now in Baton Rouge, but some others, would have looked at it that way. You're not going to win without elite talent. There's all kinds of numbers about who, since in 14 when they went to the playoff, if you don't have X number of players at this position, blah, 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 you're not going to win it. It's just fact.
Yeah.
It's a formula.
It's just fact.
Yeah.
Ironic that Georgia played Alabama in the title last year. They had the two most talented rosters. Shocking? Nope.
Nah.
It's about recruiting.
They had the most 5-stars by far. Like, it's like 10 plus more than the next.
Ohio State is next on that list, and then it's kind of, there's about 5 to 8 schools that are all in the mix. Clemson, Notre Dame, Penn State. There's a bunch, but beyond that, your main point of this is quarterback. And I talk to Driscoll about this all the time. We are lockstep in this. You don't necessarily need the Pied Piper, although it does help. But if you do have a guy that gets hot, you can have a game where you beat anybody, but you still need, well, as they say, weapons. Yeah. Look, and I'm just going to say this once, and I don't complain very often about coaching. If they all don't play Tobias Merriweather, my first conversation with Marcus ain't going to be nice. They need to figure that out. Man. I don't care if he knows the playbook. I do not care.
Yeah, nobody cares. That's what I'll be telling. Nobody
3 or 4 plays. He can run a route and just run by their free safety. They don't have to throw it to him. I guarantee the defense coordinator is going to have somebody in that boot's going to be like, look, when that kid's on the field, we do this.
Yeah, we got
to. You don't have to touch the ball. You know that as a quarterback. You don't have to touch the ball to impact what a defense does. And the first time he catches a hitch and makes 3 guys miss, we're good.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to let a player be a player. That's it. I'm sorry. So
let us be intimidating at least, and throw him out there and be like, who is that guy on the outside looking like a
Yeah,
like
he
a
looks different than all these other kids.
Yeah,
Why hasn't
so
he
like,
played yet?
just throw him.
Don't tell me that doesn't happen when you've played and you walked out there on the field when you was at Notre Dame before, and you see this other guy across, you're like, who the hell is it? You can tell when somebody looks there. It's just, it's obvious when you're on the
It's
field.
obvious.
Tobias, when he takes off, looks like a gazelle. Let's
Yes.
figure it. Let's figure it out.
Yes.
Different.
Back to the point though, they've got enough pieces around because their tight end room is ridiculous.
Oh man.
They can. This is my techie side, and you guys can jump in, and I'll give Tommy credit on this. You can do a million things now with 22 personnel if Michael Mayer's part of it, if Raritan and State, because you can go and you want to run two tights. There's a 230-pound monster in the backfield that nobody is anxious to meet up close.
Nobody.
If you want to run downhill, ask the safety on that one play where he got about 10 yards down the field, and the safety, he just went for the end. He made a business decision.
That's right.
And he still went low enough to try to hit. He just wanted to punish the guy, and he did. So you can do that. And then on the very next play, you can go hurry up with that same personnel and go 5 wide.
Right.
5 wide.
In today's world, that is the absolute gold nugget. So they have some pieces, and I'll give Drew credit. He went from absolutely terrible in quarter one that he started to now he's pretty good. It's one of the most incredible transformations I've ever seen. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Notre Dame fan, but like he looked just like comfortable, stroll in the park in a road start. That's just not normal. I don't know his makeup. I don't know the kid. No. But he was throwing pretty. I mean, he did miss the one goofy pass to Mayer on the sideline, but everybody misses something. But by and large, he was pretty accurate. If they continue to move pieces around, they can be good. But back to Shaun's point, are you going to beat Alabama with him? No, you're not. You can't miss that pass to Mayer. Yeah, chances are Mayer's not going to be open like that against Alabama either.
Yeah, even Brock Bauer wasn't open. He was catching in double traffic and still catching.
I love Mayer, but Brock is. Look, he's a little different than everybody.
A little different too.
He 2 carries for like 100 yards or something like. I mean, he's making people just look dumb. The scary part is he can't turn pro.
He can't even turn pro. Yeah.
Right.
If there was an exception rule, they wouldn't make him fill out the paperwork. They would just say, get in line over there.
I think even more than like Leonard Fournette and
oh yeah.
And
no tight end runs for 100 yards.
Yeah,
I've never heard of stat.
He's doing stuff that's like you're beyond this whole college thing.
Lucky Lucky Podcast. We got Brian Smith with us from Sports Illustrated right here. Always brought to you by Onora Whisky. OnoraWhisky.com. It's the premium American whiskey, OnoraWhisky.com. And if you drink, by all means, make sure you drink
responsibly.
Absolutely. So you brought up something else. Let's talk about this quarterback situation. And right before you came on, we found an interesting way to like transition into the conversation because I was talking about who gets the GOAT Mom Award. Is it my wife or is it my mom, right? And how that got me in trouble over the weekend. And we were just talking about laying the foundation and the platform for those to come behind you. And I said, I don't even know if we have our Taj Boyd yet. Like the kid that is there to mentor Deshaun Watson. And then Deshaun leads to Trevor Lawrence. And then Trevor Lawrence might lead to Cade Klubnik taking it to the next level. A lot of people in the chat said, well, that was Ian Book. And I'm like,
no.
Just because he won, I don't necessarily think I can give him that type of status. Is CJ Carr that guy, or is it somebody that's currently on the roster that takes another step next season?
Well, if you take out currently, I say yes, because the chances of them not landing at least one, and in my preference, 2 transfer quarterbacks. Look, it's not that hard. I'm a quarterback stat nut. And here's all you need to know about how important experience is a quarterback for those that want CJ to like, okay, let's just say he does enroll next year. I have no idea. Chances of him being good are like this. Drake May, ironically, who they just played, is the only quarterback ranked in the top 20 of the FBS right now. All the other freshmen or sophomores. Everybody else, junior, senior, 5th year senior. That look, it's the one spot where it just, I mean, you played it.
And that's why Marshall had a really good
Fifth-year
grasp
senior.
in that game.
Yep.
The
And his
quarterback
dad
was like 15 for 15.
Yeah, he just threw them 4-yard hitches.
Yes.
They didn't throw anything at him that he was like, I haven't seen. Nope.
No, he
But
just
as a freshman, you think CJ would be in that case? Oh, hell yeah, he would.
I mean,
Freshman?
even look at Tyler in the same Marshall game, throwing pick sixes on hitches.
Tyler,
That's just the difference.
He's not ready for one. I don't know if he ever will, but he did not look comfortable at all in that game. So I don't know the dynamics around it, but in my eyes, they can't rely on him to be the guy next year. Beyond that, just because he's never healthy. That's just my opinion, and I talked about it.
Not available.
I'm not a jerk, but are you available is the absolute, unequivocal number one thing the NFL general managers look at. They can't cut a guy for being hurt, but the first day they're back after they're consistently being hurt, what happens? They cut.
Yeah, every time.
Yeah,
it's just durability. Emmitt Smith is the greatest runner of all time. You could debate it, but that son of a gun was the most durable. That's why he's got the most rushing yards, and that's what the Cowboys and the Cardinals like because that's what he played.
Yeah,
and that's what they don't like about Z.
Yeah, yep.
So a lot of people in the chat immediately when we talked about transfers today, everything that's happening with Jeff Collins being dismissed at Georgia Tech. People are asking, is Jeff Sims going to enter into the transfer portal? What's going on at Boise State? Hank Bachmeier possibly going into the portal. Are those the type of guys that you think will be viable options for Notre Dame going into this offseason?
Well, there's two parts to that. One, I mean, they're all good football players. So you have to look at that. Would they fit the system that Notre Dame currently has / is Tommy going to be here next year? We all know he's flirted with the NFL. Maybe he doesn't want to jack with this anymore. I'm sure he doesn't like my podcast. I guarantee you he's seen it. Somebody showed it to him. It's guaranteed. And I don't care. You don't like it. Recruit better. He did it evaluating, and that's why we're in this boat. That's on him. But partially at least. But they can still get, because of the portal, they can flip the switch. It's just amazing. Think about a certain quarterback who just got traded from Seattle to Denver. He was pretty good at NC State, but he changed the world in Madison, Wisconsin for 1 year.
That's right.
I mean, the fit's got to, why he picked Wisconsin, because he could have won a lot of plays. I don't know, but sure as hell worked out. So I don't know the player, but it depends on the following. And you talked about a quarterback at Clemson kind of leading up to Deshaun Watson and then on to Blondie and all that. Notre Dame hasn't had the same freaking system forever. Every year or two, they kind of alter it. They're not consistent. Say what you want about Dabo. This is what we're freaking running. We're going to figure it out. We're going to recruit to it. Year 2, year 3, blah, blah, blah. And, of course, you get a kid like Blondie. I mean, that doesn't count.
That doesn't happen.
He was unbelievably intelligent. He was huge and had a cannon and his accuracy. He was a 5-star all the way. Okay. If you get one of those, you can throw that out the window. But you can't rely on that being your plan. I can coach that kid. That's not that hard. But they need to have something that they know for sure. And this is where Marcus comes in. Is this what we're going to do with or without Tommy? If Tommy leaves, who am I going to? He should already have a short list.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy, all of a sudden, I mean, they caught fire against North Carolina. You got to give them all the credit in the world. If he takes fire the rest of the year, they finish 9-3, 10-2. Again, I have no idea. And he gets a job offer he can't refuse in the NFL. He's offensive coordinator of the Texans or something. I don't know. Who's your next guy? What are we going to run? Are we going to be able to recruit to that based on what we're recruiting now? There's a gazillion off the chart questions. And like the Minchie kid, I know you talked about him a little bit ago. I've seen him play at Elite 11. He could play. I don't know where they stand with him. You can't miss on 20. You got to get somebody, but it can't be somebody that can't consistently throw the ball and or run. Running's a bonus, but it didn't have to be somebody that's a runner like Malik could have played running back. Not every quarterback's going to have to be that way, but it would be nice. Minchie can run around. He's a pretty good athlete. He's a strong kid.
We just need dynamic ability. Like Minchie doesn't have to be super fast, but he can run around because he's solid.
Oh, yeah. Look, if you hit him, you better hit him. You better
hit him. Yeah, you got to
some time in the weight room. He's seen it. You know what I mean? A lot of quarterbacks that I met, I'm like, this kid looks like
then you,
big bone. Yeah.
I hate the ones that are like, they're super thin and they run around, but they're not super fast. If you're not 4'4", then if you're not 4'4", then being 180 and below is not helpful in college football.
Yep, as soon as you get hurt, your team is screwed.
Yeah, so, you just don't. So if you're 220 and you're 4'4", that's the perfect what you want.
Yeah.
That's why they're giving so many chances to the kid that's at your second school, because I don't think he's a pure quarterback. But Florida's got a freakazoid, man. That guy is.
He's a freak.
When he's on, he's on. When he's on,
he's on.
Terrible.
He's all he looks like. He's just a freakazoid. He don't look like a quarterback.
Yeah, but look, they don't make many guys like that. I walked by him last year. I was at a high school game. I'm like, that is not a normal quarterback. He had muscles coming out of his ears. I mean, that guy just, holy cow. He was like an edge rusher in the SEC.
Yeah.
He looks like, but yeah. Yeah, if they know what they want to run, this really shouldn't be a long process. Because at worst, Carr's 24. You get a transfer this year. Look, whoever wins the job next year, you need to have a second option, which Klein should be at worst. And Buckner, if nothing else, could be like, he's really good at running RPO. You could use him in a package. I don't know. And then you still need to have at least one. And that person, I'm guessing, like Shaun's point, can be the leader of the room in terms of this is how you go from being the idiot freshman that thinks he knows everything that doesn't to being a guy that can be productive. This is what I did. You can look at my number. This is why I got from 1,000 passing yards to 2,800 to 3,400. And now I'm at Notre Dame or something like that. Seeing a guy that's gotten his butt kicked and he can show film when they do this stuff. I mean, Malik probably had some time where he spent with some older guys at some point. They're like, look, this is what I did. And I'm sure Malik did it with younger guys too. It's a process, but they need somebody established. If they don't get a grad transfer, and I don't give a crap if CJ does come in 23, they still need a grad transfer. Can't rely on a freshman ever. It's a bonus, not something that's guaranteed.
Man, Lucky Lefty podcast. We talk about this all the time, don't we, Malik? The story that came out of Tuscaloosa, how upset after the quarterback battle, how upset Bryce was because he felt like he really won the quarterback battle with Mac Jones. And Alabama went with Mac Jones. And Bryce didn't pout because someone in the film room told him, look, Mac Jones has watched every piece of film in his room twice. And Bryce Young said, I'm gonna do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like he didn't pout. You know what? I'm about to go work. And he hit the ground running. And that's what it takes. Like he should be upset as a competitor if he feels like I'm a better quarterback.
That's right.
But like you just said, we have a system in place. Freshman quarterbacks aren't successful like that in college football. It's not that easy.
No. And
for him to take it upon himself to make himself better and make sure when the opportunity came that he was going to be ready to roll, that's the type of thing, that's the type of leadership you want to see in that quarterback room in Notre Dame to start things rolling with CJ, whomever they get, and 25, if it's Bryce J. Underwood or another kid, and then on into 26. That's the thing you want to see to change the narrative and kind of make Notre Dame one of the future QBUs.
I just hope they figure out the transfer thing because that's as important as getting Carr. Because he can't come in there and just be blind.
Yeah.
I'm sure Rick Meyer and guys like that will call him. You need somebody that's in the film room with you. Malik can talk about that on your next 10 podcasts. If you didn't trust the guys in your room as a quarterback, that's rough sledding, bro. Because that position's too hard anyway. I'm sure he's got stories for days. Where you're like, this guy doesn't get it. I'm sure you had a few moments, whether it's ND or Florida or both. Like, this guy doesn't get it. He's done.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't care how talented the arm is.
Yeah.
If the brain doesn't understand where everybody's at on the field,
it just doesn't work.
That's why that Drake May kid, he got beat up because they couldn't run the ball. That kid's gonna play in the NFL.
Yeah.
His clock ticks a little different. If you put him at Notre Dame right now, if he'd have played from game, they may have beat Ohio State, but they'd be 3-1 at worst, and they wouldn't lose another game. In my opinion,
they wouldn't lose another game.
So
he's more like Brady Quinn for us if he came.
Yeah, you know what? He's a lot like Brady. He's not quite as strong, but the way he plays and just kind of knows everything, and his confidence, the way his body language, he's a lot like Brady. Good for him. So he's got a bright future. Very bright.
So what changed when Marcus Freeman took over as far as how Notre Dame is viewed, if anything, when the transition went from him and the previous regime to just him as the head coach? How is Notre Dame now viewed?
I think there's two parts that recruiting wise, it's viewed completely different because he's so dialed in with it. That's been talked about ad nauseum. You wouldn't be watching this podcast if you weren't interested in Notre Dame recruiting, but I can just tell you from asking, Lord only knows how many kids, Florida, Georgia, Texas, I travel all over the South. He's very well respected, coaches, players, etc. So that's good. The second part is they want to see how he handles adversity, which he's doing right now. So it's still a little bit to go, but they've won their last 2 games. And the way they kicked the crap out of North Carolina, it's, in my opinion, very important. He didn't try to get cute. You know how Orlovsky talked about on the show. Hey, they're just doing this. Don't get cute here. Just run the ball. There shouldn't be ball in the air. And that's what they did. He didn't try to, ask Tommy to do anything he should. They were running A-gap blast, basically.
Yeah.
The guy behind it.
That's all you need.
Sometimes, look, there's never going to be a Jerome Bettis again. There's not. But that guy is not somebody you want to get in front of either. And North Carolina wanted no part of it.
Yeah.
They wanted no part of it.
They wanted no part of that.
I understand. So
the only team that may want to part the rest of the season may be Clemson's front 7. Other than that,
you know what's interesting? I watched some of the Wake Forest game against, and again, 5th-year senior quarterback. Ironically, in 18 when Notre Dame played him, remember they knocked him out of the game. That's the game Ian started.
Ian started, yeah.
Yep. He was terrible. 5th-year senior. There's no way around it. You got to go through the butt kickers.
Yeah.
There's this.
Yeah.
It's proven over and over and over again. Call Mac Jones to your point a minute ago. But anyway, I think if they can get to 9-3, your answer can be answered. They'll lose either SC or Clemson is my guess. You split it, but they shouldn't, based on what they're doing right now, barring a significant injury. Got to throw that in with football. They shouldn't really lose BYU. They should beat BYU by double digits. And I'm not saying they're not a good football team. No, the light switch has went on along the offensive line. There is no better friend to Drew Pine than those 5 big ugly guys in front of him. That's, 2nd and 4. You can ask Malik this. 2nd and 4 never goes out of style. Play calling is so much more fun. Malik, when you were in 2nd and 4, did you smile more when you walked up to the line of scrimmage?
Oh yeah, you had everything at your fingertips, and then on top of that, it's just the fact that I think a lot of the criticism Marcus Freeman has gotten has been the perspective has been a little more harsh because of the Marshall loss. I think if it was just Ohio State's loss, we would be thinking a little more in light of what Marcus Freeman is doing, more on brand to, okay, I know it'll probably be 3-1, but the 2-2 has made people put a little bit more pressure on Marcus Freeman, and that I think is a little unwarranted because he's just getting started. But hitting that straight and narrow for the 3/4 rest of the way, I think, like you said, the lights are on. So people better be worried. They
know Notre Dame can get kids out of their backyard. They don't want Marcus.
Yeah.
I know this firsthand, especially living in the South. They do not like Notre Dame. There's a lot of the coaches. It's hilarious.
Oh, trust. We know. Because they come at us.
Level. I'm in freaking Tampa, brother. That's a whole nother. The conversations that I've had are hilarious. But the Gator fans that I know they're hiding. Right.
They're hiding.
Yeah.
They're hiding. So it's funny, but
that's right.
Miami fans, that's a whole nother thing. When I saw that score come across the screen, I was like, you gotta be freaking kidding me.
Miami, yeah, what's going on over there?
I don't know. They got the most thin-skinned fans in college football anyway. They're fair weather fans. There'll be 12 people at their next home game. That's 12
people, yeah.
It's a really good school and everything, but they don't have loyal fans.
Looking at the podcast once again, we have SI's Brian Smith on with us talking Notre Dame recruiting right here, brought to you by Onora Whisky. You pointed to the 3 and done that needs to exist on national championship teams, and you talked about Benjamin Morrison is that dude for Notre Dame to start that trend.
that was the guy when Driscoll told me, you need to watch this kid, blah, blah, blah. I think they're going to get him. Well, yeah, they may not, but I went and watched this film, and I said, they got a couple of decent corners right now, but he's got a chance to start next year. I didn't know he was going to do it like that for 3.
Right.
But I'm like, his technique and his dad, that helps. He's got the right people around him. And he was at Trophy Prep. He's more mature, all the above. He's going to be a 3-and-out kid.
Yeah.
You got to have one of those at minimum at corner every other year. That's where Notre Dame usually sucks. Let's not kid ourselves. They've always had to move guys from receiver, running back, safety.
Yeah.
He just came in and said, screw y'all. I ain't going to enroll early. I'm just going to take this job right here. Deuces.
He reminds me a lot of like a Patrick Surtain and how his legacy with his dad at Alabama, a 3-year-and-out guy, bona fide. That side of the field is locked up. And then Jaden Mickey on the other side.
He's getting back. Mickey's not where Ben is.
Right.
But he's still pretty good. Here's my question. This is the fun thing. This is where I like moving stuff around. Looking into next year, I don't know what they're going to have back. You can always have transfers or whatever. But assuming there's no significant injury or transfer, do you move number 6 to safety, or do you move Mickey to nickel? I mean, they've got a lot of great options. This is one of the first times in my life, and I followed Notre Dame since the mid-'80s, that I can say they have so many freaking options at DB. And that's not even counting the 2 sophomores this year have been beat out. Maybe one of them moves to safety. Maybe one of them does, they have pieces now where if Mickey kind of I think Mickey might end up being their nickel next year. That's my guess.
Yeah.
But that's such a hard spot to play. That'll take care of itself. Notre Dame can start playing more press man, especially against teams not named like Ohio State. You don't want to play man against that kind of team. It doesn't work. But against like 8 out of the 12 teams on your schedule, you can just suffocate them. We're going to put 8 in the box. We're massive up front. Good luck. I mean, they can just hand them that's pretty much what LSU has done forever. When you can play cover 1, that's how Marcus, to Shaun's question a minute ago, can really make his mark. That's what Dave Aranda has done. I don't know how great a head coach he is, but I know that guy can really coach defense, and it's starting to look like he's figured it out overall. But it starts with kicking the crap out of the team in front of him on defense. Marcus, why not Marcus do the same plan? I love Dave Aranda anyway. That's one of my favorite coaches. But that's something they're going to have, and that'll help this quarterback transition. Winning 35-31 is not a healthy living. You need to have some – you're going to have a clunker somewhere where you score 24. Can you still win that game? Ian Book's credit, like when they won the Virginia Tech game, the 4th down pass, they won a few clunkers. The Louisville game, defense carries them. You're probably going to have that. So unless you have Bryce Young, but that's, again, right now we're not in position to have that conversation. So let's just be. That's what they're going to have to rely on to make their mark. And then once you do that, if they continue this year out, I mean, I haven't talked to Keon recently, but he could still sign. Next year there could be somebody like that, etc. Every year you have to go for those guys. There's going to be another Ben Morrison. You need them every single year, not every other. I mean, you need dudes every year that are just better than the guy in front of them. And while they're getting coached by Kirby and some of these schools that are doing so well, it's about raw talent. Notre Dame's close, but you're not beating Alabama without not just good elite pressure. The first time Georgia played them last year, they couldn't get anywhere near Bryce. How'd that work out?
Right.
You're going to get your hind end handed to you. They totally changed their front, went to an Eagle 50 front or whatever, and said, if we get beat on the back end, it is what it is, but he's going to be on the ground.
Right.
You got to pick your poison. And they knew that he was still going to hit some shots, and he did, but it worked better. They had to try something else. It's the only time I've ever seen Kirby do that.
Yeah.
But he's like, giving up 40 sucks. Let's try something else. So Notre Dame is close to that personnel. My only concern the next year or two is, ironically, who's going to be that guy when he walks out on the field and the quarterback walks up and says, where's the pass rusher? They're losing number 7. Do they have anybody else like him? No, they do not. So they got to show me they can get – that's another transfer option.
Yeah.
Could be a kid from Appalachian. I have no idea. Why not? I could be the final piece to help a team get to the playoff. If that's not appealing to the kid, I don't want him at Notre Dame anyway.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a lot of spots, and we're going to talk about quarterback because it drives the bus. I get it. They need help They need a nose guard again next year to help, although a certain big fellow from St. Louis is starting to play more. And I'll give him credit. He's done pretty good. They need another nose guard. They need a pass rusher. Maybe they need a receiver or three. I mean, I'll let Malik talk about that.
He's still a 3.
I mean, look.
I like the ones coming in, though. Jordan Greathouse, Braylon James. I like those guys.
I'm going to see Greathouse play in a couple weeks, and I'll talk about that later. But again, those guys are freshmen.
Yeah.
How much impact are they going to make? Especially, look, whether I agree, and I know you two don't agree either, Tommy wants guys to know the playbook. Freshmen aren't going to know the playbook.
Right.
They're prove me wrong, but, the only guys that are really playing that are freshmen are the tight ends that are using them as blockers mostly. They're big, I get it, but they've got to start. That's the other piece. They got to throw the ball to freshman receivers. If Ohio State can throw it to freshmen,
yeah. Ohio State can win the game beating us by throwing it to freshmen, and we have no excuse.
So what are we talking about here? Let's put a date on this. Notre Dame is a legit national title contender by,
I think 25. By 25. It could be 24, but that's depending on the situation at quarterback. We can guess all day long on CJ's development, and it's still going to be a guess. We can guess if Tommy's going to be at Notre Dame at that time. It's still going to be a guess. The only thing you can project is the physical talent that's there. And right now, it's headed in the right direction. It's got a couple key pieces, but thank the Lord that the secondary, like what I mentioned, like it used to be they'd have like one guy like Mickey. They got Tucker, they got Mickey, and they got Morrison. They're all young guys that have freshman eligibility. Notre Dame hasn't had that since 1990. That class, they had that, and that class is a whole another animal. But they had DBs because they took running backs and moved them and received. They moved guys around. They just brought in DBs. You got to give Marcus credit and everybody involved with those recruitments. So now it's about quarterback and finding a pass rusher. Yes, they're premium positions. I get it. But O-line set. Anybody going to argue with the tight end room?
No.
Not. Running back, I'm good. They've got some guys, and they got more coming in. They got a guy that's hurt. Receiver should be taken care of by 24 next year. They should be the average if they can get some of the freshmen to play. And they, again, and while I was somewhat joking about 3 transfers, look, I'm just being serious. This is how some of this crap works, at least down where I live in the South. And again, Malik played for it a little bit. He understands. A one phone call, a kid can go from, in the state of Florida, a kid from Florida, let's say he goes to South Carolina. He's caught 50 balls in 3 years. A lot of the kids down in Florida literally don't know what state Notre Dame's in, and I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah. I had to explain it where it was a couple times.
Oh, yeah. Like you'll get answers like New York, California, Texas, and I'm not kidding.
Oh, yeah. Crazy answers for sure.
But if you tell him, hey, you can go be the number 1 or number 2 up there, he'll ask where I need to go because he'll think it's a chance to expand his opportunity to go to the NFL. It could be, I'm just using South Carolina. I have no idea. There's going to be a couple of those conversations happen between intermediaries. Their 7-on-7 coach, their high school coach, or whatever.
Snake oil salesmen's down there, man. They gonna sell it to you.
And it could just be somebody's dad. It's like, look, I know you don't really care for going up north, but it's only for a semester and you're out anyway. They need a guy like that that's graduating, that's caught 40, 50 balls at Virginia. Like those Virginia receivers. Look, if Virginia's throwing the ball all over the place like they did last year, they should be able to get one of those kids to transfer as a 5th-year senior. Something like that. That's a great school.
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, there has to be one of the Wake Forest receivers. That school's borderline on par with Notre Dame or whatever. They're not going to worry about the transcript. There's somebody out there, even if they do just get one, that can change it. Then you put him with the other guys that get coming back. It's a start, and then just one of the freshman receivers is good.
Right.
24 can be the conduit to something great by 25. Maybe even is 24. Like Holtz thought 89 was going to be his year, and he won it in 88. Sometimes it just, you just got to go out and play football. So yeah. I think next year is the lead-in year. So I hope I'm right.
Without getting too deep into it, because we don't want you to do that. In the cases of, I just think, because Notre Dame fans have been upset about decommitments. They just recently had a decommitment from offensive tackle Elijah Page, who, now, honestly, we were kind of shocked when he committed to Notre Dame because we knew he wanted to stay out west. That was really what he wanted to do, and eventually he's locked in eventually he's going to be locked in USC, in my opinion, once he makes a decision. But the decommitment of Dante Moore, with him being silently committed, not publicly committed, and then Keon Keeley being decommitting, and the fan base worrying about Peyton Bowen and what he's going to do and how Oklahoma plays into this. I'm not so worried about the decommitments. I would love to have those guys. My biggest question is, did these kids legitimately love the staff and love Notre Dame? Because if they choose to go somewhere else for other reasons, I'm cool with that. As long as kids are liking the program and liking the direction that Marcus Freeman is going in, I'm like, okay, that's a starting point for kids like that from down south, because I'm not even sure Notre Dame was able to get to that level with a lot of the elite kids from down south.
I'll put it to you like this. I've met Peyton Bowen like 4 different times, 7-on-7, Under Armour events. I went to his high school. The last time I talked to him at any length, I asked him about Notre Dame and some questions. And one of the other guys sitting there was another recruit. And they said, well, why you want to go to Notre Dame? It was just hating on him, basically. He says, dude, I'd go in there and start. And he just said it just A to B. Like, look, I know I'm good enough to do it. First off, I like the fact that he's a confident kid.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot to say that in front of, like, it was a room full of reporters. So he knew I'm standing right there. I got my, didn't care. And he talked about how much he liked Marcus and this and that and how genuine they were. Okay. So that told me, because he's got an offer from everybody.
Yeah.
His speed is ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
And he's an elite academic kid. He fits the Notre Dame, Stanford, Duke, Northwestern, and all that. So if they don't get him, they don't get him. But I know that they haven't done anything to screw it up. The only thing that I get mad at when they lose a kid is if Notre Dame screwed it up. And I'll just use a simple analogy here. How many times have we heard in the last 20 years, whether it was Kelly or somebody else, that the head coach didn't stay in communication with a recruit? Are you worried about that with Marcus?
No.
If a kid chooses Oklahoma, and God bless him, that's his decision. If a kid chooses Oklahoma because Notre Dame screwed up, I'm angry. That's not going to be the problem. So I agree with Shaun. I'm not worried about that. With today's climate and how much accessibility you have just with your phone in your hand, you can't lie to recruits like kids. These coaches 30 years ago, man, they used to just talk. You're my number one guy. Hell, they'll call each other. They all know each other because of 7-on-7 and Under Armour events and stuff. There's nothing, and that's part of the reason you see so much of this fishtailing with recruits. I'm not worried about it. They're going to get talent there. They just need a pass rusher, and they need to fix quarterback. I know those are big issues. I'm not denying that. But how many teams have offensive line depth and talent like Notre Dame? They're one of 5, maybe, in that vernacular. That's a heck of a place to start. And now they got the young corners. I'm hoping safety kind of figures itself out. They got some pieces they can move around. And, of course, we all want to see a receiver get better. And how could it not? So we're good. We just got a couple of pieces, and I think Notre Dame will be on their way.
Hey, it's been a pleasure, Brian, to have you on the show. Hopefully you'll come back, chop it up with us a little later in the season. That's I've been talking to kids, and this November 5th weekend is about to be about as massive. You know how they used to have the banquet weekends back in the day under Holtz, and that was the big thing? This is basically what November 5th is when Clemson comes to town from a recruiting standpoint, because every big recruit in 23 and 24 is going to be there.
Darius Hayes told me he was planning on coming to that more than likely, and this was August, I think it was. Something like that. He's a kid from Florida, and he's not your typical Florida kid, and he likes Marcus and Notre Dame. He's got offers from everybody. He was talking about that, and I didn't even ask him. So there's some buzz around that. I mean, Clemson carries weight. They won the 18 and 20 titles. They should.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, let's give them credit. Or, 16 and 18, but they've just done everything that you want, and then you got to bring them into your stadium. They're finally doing some things offensively, but they did give up 45 or whatever it was to Wake Forest. So I'm curious about that. How Notre Dame will attack them, because their offense is nowhere near like Wake Forest in design.
Right.
We're not throwing paintballs all day and winning. It's not going to work out that way.
Yeah, we're not.
So that game's going to be interesting, and that could be the final credibility, even if they lost like 31-28 in a shootout kind of game that was really good. Okay, they figured this out. They got some things. Once they get their quarterback, will be good. It will help recruiting immensely. Of course, winning helps more. But I can't wait for that game. You got to test yourself against the best, gentlemen. You both know it. I know it. That's why we like root for Notre Dame. You can hate Notre Dame all you want, but they don't dodge people. That's for sure. They've always scheduled out of conference games from teams from every conference. It's no different. So enjoyed being on the podcast, gentlemen. Thank you very much for having me on.
Before you go, let everybody know what you have going on and where they can follow you and check you out.
All right. My name is Brian Smith. Some of you probably know me. I've been around Notre Dame message boards for 25 years. But if you want to find me on Twitter or on Instagram, it's at FBScout_Florida. At FBScout_Florida. Anything that I do is going to go through one of those two mediums. And it's pretty simple. I cover UCF as my main job, if you will, but I help 20 different sites on the Foundation SI grind. And I'm going to go see Beasley, the Caleb Beasley kid. I was just messaging with him right before the show. The top 24 DB on my way back down to Florida to go see what's left of my house. Hey, you don't know. He's in Nashville. He's a kid that Marcus and those guys want. There's always a chance to scout somebody. So got to make it work, gentlemen. There's always somebody.
Dude, because they have Christian Gray and Michael Bell coming in next year, they stacked that with Beasley in the 24 class. Yo,
that's what I mean. It's different when you have corners, because it just changes your play call.
Yeah.
You don't have to run cover 3 and get your butt kicked. What I mean? Experienced quarterbacks pick that crap apart. You got to be able to play some man, at least occasionally. I mean, that's just so.
All right, Brian, we appreciate you. Have a great day, man. We'll get back at you sometime later in the season.
All right, buddy. Take care. Thanks much.
All right. Once again, that was SI's Brian Smith joining us right here on the Lucky Lefty podcast. Bro, that was a great interview. That was a great interview. I had to ask the question. I know because, he's down there in the South in Florida. Keon's from Tampa. I knew he had the information. Really didn't want him to go in depth about what was really going on. But he kind of let us know that it was some BS, some downright dirty stuff surrounding the Keon Keeley situation. And I just wanted to know if kids were legitimately liking the program under Marcus Freeman. And if that's the case, then you can walk away feeling good. It's like if you choose to go to another school, like he said, no longer will kids be leaving Notre Dame or decommitting from Notre Dame because Notre Dame messed up.
That's right.
And that's what you want to hear. Yeah, I'm cool now. I feel a lot better about the Keon Keeley situation based off of talking to him. Because now I know it was nothing Notre Dame did, as part of the business, yo. Like you said, Florida kids are different.
Yeah.
You know what time it is, bro.
Petticoat. Petticoat Junction.
It's time to get petty.
Oh, we did a good job executing.
Are you upset with something?
And fire up the Petticoat Junction train.
I just don't like you.
You don't?
No.
What is today's pettiest story? Petty Junction.
That's right. Petty Junction, pettiest story of the day. Someone said or did something petty. Brought to you by Onora Whisky, OnoraWhisky.com, that premium American whiskey, OnoraWhisky.com. Bro, the petty train is pretty full today, bro.
That's right.
Yeah, it's pretty full today. I want to go to New York. Mayor Eric Adams I just don't know. He had to be put on the petty train.
Is he a politician
Brand.
or a freaking entertainer?
New York has a brand. And when people see it, it means something. You know, when we go there, it's not, Kansas doesn't have a brand. When you go there, okay, you're from Kansas. No. Well, you know what? But New York has a brand. It has a brand.
What is that?
Why is he picking on Kansas, fam? Like, yes, New York does have a brand. And I know my boy Donnie Cruz is watching right now. New York has some really great brands.
Yeah.
They have some really bad brands, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
there's some
right.
things about New York right now. I don't even want to go to New York right now.
No.
My daughter is thinking about transferring to NYU. She has an interview coming up in October. She's like, Daddy, you want to go? No. Man. All the stuff that's floating around New York right now, no. I don't want to go. So, look, New York is a great city. Don't get me wrong. I've had fantastic times in New York. Some of the best nightlife experiences I've ever had have taken place in New York. But my man just randomly picking out Kansas, like,
what are you talking about?
you know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, next we go to Florida where, you know, anybody that was nearby, yo, help this woman out, man. Mad petty.
Honey, that's not going to read.
Oh, what is she doing? No, she's not.
No.
No, she said it on.
Why is she so afraid to get so
Bruh.
close?
What is she?
Here we go. She got it. She got it on the right side this time.
Bruh. Oh my God, bro.
Okay,
Stop. I know she keeps.
Bro.
She just here.
Okay, there you go.
Here we go. She's got it. Where is she going?
She's doing a, she just did a circle.
Wrong side. Oh my God.
It's like, can't be real.
Oh, there she found the gas tank.
Side. I mean, it's on the correct
That's
side.
the right side.
That's the correct side. She's got the gas tank.
She did.
Yes. Okay.
Oh!
Yes.
She had it.
Yes. Okay, she has it.
She literally had it encircled around. That guy's judging her so hard.
Nobody's helping, bro. Everybody's
Is it
petty.
the worker?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So she goes on the other
Good
side.
stuff. Everybody at the gas station is mad petty.
Wait,
Everybody.
she goes on the other side. She didn't even go on that gas. Oh my goodness.
Everybody's petty. You're just sitting here recording and watching, not helping the lady. Come
I
on,
don't know
man.
if I want to help because I wanted to see how long it was gonna go. Like
You would have been the person with the video recorder apps.
I would have been like, keep trying. Don't stop. Fuck you.
Next up on the petty train, Tyreek Hill, man. Match up against the Cincinnati Bengals this week, and yeah, his mind went back to the AFC Championship game, and he just decided to be petty.
Oh, we play on Prime Time that week? I didn't even know that.
Amazon Prime.
Oh, we play on Amazon Prime? Thursday. Oh, that's going to be lit right there. I didn't even know that for real. So, but, yeah, we're looking forward to who we play?
Bengals.
We're looking forward to the challenge. It's going to be fun, you know. And I can't wait to go against Eli Apple, man. I owe you, boy. I owe you. I'm here. The cheetah is here. Let's eat.
Let's go. Bengals Dolphins, baby. Your Bengals might be in trouble, Lee. That cat the cheetah said, let's go.
Look,
I owe you, boy. I owe
who's
you.
their quarterback?
Say it again.
Who's their quarterback?
Say it again.
Yeah, exactly.
All I'm saying is
on Thursday.
That man told Eli Apple he might be in trouble. Let's eat.
The only thing Tyreek's gonna get on Thursday is some cardio. Ain't nobody got the arm to throw it to him. Eli ain't got
You're
nothing.
gonna see the cheetah. You're gonna see your boy waddling in the end zone. Your boy Jalen Waddle. It's gonna be a track meet on the Bengals all game.
A track meet, not a football game. I don't know how they're gonna get the ball. Who's
It
throwing
might be honestly, that might be the two best wide receiving cores going up against each other.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like facts. That we might get both teams in the 40s in that game. And last but not least, shout out. This is not Petty Train, but shout out to my boy. First of all, I don't know if you've seen the transformation of Zion Williamson from last season to this season. He looks phenomenal. Looks in shape. And he was asked, like, what motivated him to get in shape. And I had to tip my cap to the young man.
To appreciate this process. I can never really put it into words with, I guess, all the adversity, all the cons. But for me, the Notorious B.I.G. album, Ready to Die, that album lyrically, how he talked about stress, what he was dealing with, just feeling the weight of the world on your shoulders and you feel like you're standing alone. That album really helped kind of shift my mindset and just finding true resolve within the game. I'm 22. I've been through a lot in the past years, some change. Some things you wish didn't happen, but from that album you just learn, man. That's life.
The fact that man said, I've been through a lot at 22, I'm like, you're 22, dog. But being that dude, you never know what people are dealing with. And obviously for him to be honest enough about, the stress and everything and feeling like the weight of the world was on his shoulders, man, kudos to him for putting in the work, physically and mentally. Whatever the motivation was that got him there, can't wait to see the young man out there on the hardwood floor. NBA season is right around the corner with the preseason starting in a couple of days left. I'm excited, bro.
I mean, he is the freakiest basketball player I've ever seen. So making that climb, I could imagine it couldn't be too tough. But, all that money he got from the NBA already, I'm sure he had something comfortable to be stressed on.
Well, at least he was smart enough not to schedule massages on IG, dude.
Man.
What did you think about the hoop earring, though? It caught my eye most of the video.
Jordan, he signed to Jordan. So Jordan was like, look, you the second freakiest dude signed on this brand next to me.
That's what it was?
You might as well rock that earring like
it was an MJ inspiration?
100%.
Yeah, man. After all the stuff that Scotty talked this past year, shout out to Marcus Jordan for doing the work. Shout out to you, Marcus Jordan, for putting in that work. We appreciate you, boy.
That's embarrassing, man. Dang. Scotty just...
Hey, Cap Marcus said, Dad, I got this.
Dad, I got you. Don't even worry about it.
Lucky Lefty Podcast. Great show today. Man, subscribe. Hit the like button. Smash it for us. On our way to 3,000. We're going to get there. And it's all because of you, LL Nation, and how you guys have tapped in and supported. Let's continue to grind. Continue to do big things. Great conversation with SI's Brian Smith today surrounding Notre Dame and when they'll be a legit title contender. The vision of Marcus Freeman. And also what needs to happen in the quarterback room and who's going to lay that foundation to start the trend and the dominoes falling for great quarterback play at Notre Dame. We appreciate you guys. We'll be back tomorrow with another great episode of the Lucky Lefty Podcast. For Left, I'm SD2 Mike Shaun Davis. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, right here. The Lucky Lefty Podcast. Have a great day. But most of all, make sure that you spend it different today.